My name is Michelle. I'm a 32-year-old office worker. I've been married to Tim for 8 years. We were madly in love. We were each other's first loves, started dating in middle school, and got married after dating for 10 years. During that time, there were no significant fights or issues with other women, but when I was 20, I lost my beloved mother. I never had a father, so with my mother gone, I was left without any parents. Having no siblings, I was all alone. Tim was the one who supported me during that time. Back then, I was troubled, and even when Tim spoke kindly to me, I would say cold things like, "You're lucky to have parents." Or when he would go back to his parents' home, I'd say spitefully, "Must be nice to have a family home." But even then, Tim always spoke to me with kindness. I believe that I am who I am today because of Tim. But, somehow after we got married, the kind Tim changed. When we were dating, I never imagined he would turn into a male chauvinist, but now, it's not just that, he becomes uncontrollable when he drinks. We wanted to have children, but with Tim being this way, I thought it would be unfair to the children, so I haven't considered having kids yet. I was hoping he would change someday. I was waiting for that. But people don't change that easily. Instead, it just got worse, and one day he suddenly quit his job.
Michelle! I quit my job. What happened all of a sudden? What's going on?
I couldn't get along with the boss. He was forcing work on me. You work too, so it shouldn't be a problem finding another job, right? It's not a problem, but what do you mean he was forcing work on you? Even though I was already working, he kept piling on more. Have these documents ready by next week. Can you believe that? Normally, you delegate tasks one at a time, right? You're a manager, aren't you? So you understand how ridiculous my boss is, right? I also ask my subordinates to take on tasks, There's no employee who only handles one task. Everyone juggles multiple tasks and completes them in turn. Plus, a deadline for next week is actually quite generous. You're kidding, right? Maybe it's time you realized how much you're disliked at the company. You're the one being unreasonable. It's unfortunate you quit your job, but please hurry up and find a new one. I already have a new job lined up. Really? How did you find something so quickly? A friend of mine runs a company, and he's agreed to hire me. Is that so? When do you start working there? Well, I'll discuss that and get back to you. I was dismayed by Tim's casual attitude, but I felt somewhat relieved knowing he had another job lined up. However, he showed no signs of leaving the house, and every day when I came home from work, he was just lying on the couch playing video games.
Hey! Michelle! You're back?
Seriously. How can it get this messy in one day?
Shut up. Bring me some booze. And after that, it's dinner time.
You're at home, so you could make it yourself, right? Aren't you being a bit lazy? And what about finding a new job? When are you going to start working? Hey! What are you saying to a husband who has worked so hard up until now? If you're going to complain, then you should work so much you don't have time to come home. If you have complaints, why don't you do something about your low income? Fine, I'll bring the drinks. I was too tired to argue back, so I just ignored Tim's remarks. After all, he used to be so kind. Maybe he'll become kind again. I believed that and endured. But it wasn't a simple issue. From that day on, Tim would be at home every day, constantly complaining. Not only was he not working, but his drinking habits were getting worse, and when he lost at games, he would get so frustrated that he sometimes threw and broke dishes. I was really glad we didn't have kids. That's all I could think about. When will he ever change? A month later. Tim hasn't changed at all. There's no booze. And hey, when the husband is drinking, you're supposed to bring some snacks, right? There's some cheese and crackers over there, isn't there?
Those are just snacks. You're supposed to make something.
We just had dinner not long ago. You've gained quite a bit of weight since you quit your job. Maybe you should cut back on the food?
Shut up. Don't you order me around. I married you, who has no parents. You should be grateful.
When he said that, I was left speechless. And feeling so frustrated, I always cried in the bath. The Tim who used to speak to me so kindly is no longer there. Now, the Tim before me is just the worst kind of man. Yet, even though I realized this, I pretended not to see it. Because I couldn't replace the gratitude I had for the past. 6 months have passed since Tim quit his job. About 4 months into that period, he started to increasingly demand money from me. Until then, he must have been managing with the savings from his own salary, but that must have run out. Even so, he doesn't work, but as long as I can manage, I'll give him money. Because he's the person who saved me. That's what I believed as I worked hard. However, the amount he asked for kept increasing day by day.
Hey! Give me $2,000.
$2,000? What do you need it for? Why do I have to tell you that? Isn't it strange not to say what such a large amount of money is for? Just the other day, you said it was for gaming, and I gave you $400, right? How much do you think I've given you just this month? About $6,000 or so? Are you telling me you earn so little that you can't give $6,000 a month to your husband? It's absurd to give $6,000 a month. I'm not a millionaire.
Before you blame others, you should blame your low income. I'm protecting the home right now, so go work more.
Hey, then you should work. Were you even listening? You should blame yourself before blaming others. Maybe I should go to my mistress. I can earn with my youth, after all. What? What did you just say?
Nothing. But anyway, you need to work.
Even after being told all this, I still didn't feel suspicious of Tim. Until now, Tim had indeed worked hard. So now it's my turn to work hard. That's what I thought. And I clearly heard the words Tim said. I definitely heard him say he might go to his mistress. But even if Tim ends up cheating, I suppose it can't be helped. Maybe it was some kind of brainwashing, because I couldn't satisfy Tim. I felt that everything Tim said was right and always listened to him. Because of that, after working full-time, I also took a part-time job as a station cleaner. Since my company had said that side jobs required consultation, I had properly discussed it with my boss and obtained permission for the side job. However, after months of living like this, my health began to deteriorate, and I couldn't put my heart into my work at the company. Despite urging Tim repeatedly to get a job, each time I was just yelled at and told he had picked me up. Then I thought I should stop consulting him about it. I figured I just needed to work hard until he decided to work. That's what I thought. But one day, I was called by my boss. You don't seem to be focusing on your work lately, are you okay? I'm sorry. Juggling jobs has been tough. Why is a manager like you even doing side jobs? You have a husband, after all. If you can't focus on your work here, I might have to ask you to step down from the managerial position, and I can't approve of your side job either. Faced with that, I panicked and explained the situation at home. My boss was outraged. Letting a woman work while he sits at home. If you allow that, I suppose that's one thing, but I understand there are problems in every family. However, your lack of engagement at work. To let your husband stay at home, are you really in love with a man who wants that? Yes, he supported me when times were tough. I can't complain about family matters, you're free to do as you like there, but it's different with work. If you can't focus, of course, I'll have to demote you from the manager position. Side jobs will be prohibited too. I'm expecting a lot from you in the future. I made you a manager because I have those expectations, after all. It's incredible to be a manager at your age. I understand. I'm very pleased and motivated by the company's expectations, but I also know that I'm currently not meeting them, and that's frustrating. I will consult with my husband to urge him to find work. I understand that once trust is lost with the company, it's hard to regain it. That's right. I'll support you as much as I can, so keep up the good work. I was fortunate to work at a good company. That was my only salvation. However, when I got home, the room was dirty. Every single day, the room was just filthy. Cup noodles left uneaten and candy wrappers scattered around the sofa. And on top of that, cans of alcohol strewn about, with Tim never bothering to clean them up. He just slept on the sofa. I couldn't understand how he could sleep so much without doing anything. It was puzzling. Since waking him would only result in complaints, I cooked while he was asleep and waited for him to wake up. I finished cooking without waking him, and then cleaned the dirty room. Then Tim, woken by a slight noise, said grumpily,
"Hey! Keep it down, I'm trying to sleep here."
"You're up. Good morning."
"It's not a good morning. I said it's noisy."
"Sorry." If saying sorry was enough to be forgiven, life would be easy. "You really are the most inconsiderate woman." After saying that, Tim got up from the sofa, went to the living room, and upon seeing the meal laid out, he said something outrageous. "Is this all you can make? I've been waiting, and you come home late. What kind of wife are you?" "That's because I have multiple jobs." "That's no excuse. Can't even balance housework and a job. What kind of woman are you? If you're going to say that, could you start working soon? I've been told at work that they might demote me from my managerial position, and without the extra allowance, my salary might decrease."
"Then just get another job."
"Why does it come to that? Why won't you work? Why do I have to work? You're working, that should be enough. So, I don't need to give you an allowance anymore? That way, I won't have to juggle jobs, and I can focus on my work at the company. If you're not working, you don't need an allowance, right?" "What did you just say?" "Because it's true. Always playing games and never working. Why do I have to earn money for your allowance as well?"
"Is this a tantrum because you can't balance housework and your job? I took in someone like you, an orphan, and this is how you think? How dare you?"
After saying that, Tim threw the game controller at me. I was so done. I had reached my limit. I just said sorry, ate my dinner with trembling hands, took a bath, and went to bed. Tim has been sleeping on the sofa ever since he quit his job. So, we sleep separately. I was able to sleep soundly. But the next day, perhaps due to considerable mental strain, my health had deteriorated. "What are you lazing around for instead of going to work?" "I'm not going to work today because I'm feeling ill." "If you're going to stay home, then you should respond to everything I say, right? You can do that much since you're home, right? When I give an order, you should move accordingly." "That's impossible, I have a fever and a headache." "I don't care. That's your fault for not managing yourself properly." Tim's voice echoed in my reeling head. I was truly at my limit. I thought he would at least be somewhat considerate if I said something. But that idea was completely wrong.
"Hey, Michelle! Get me a drink. Hey, Michelle! Clean up the spilled booze here. Hey, Michelle! What about lunch? Make it quick. You have 5 minutes."
I was ordered around relentlessly, with no time to rest. I should have gone to work. It would have been easier. In the end, being bossed around by Tim all day made my condition worse. Tim never said a kind word. What was that period before we got married? It seemed like a dream. Why has it turned out like this? I thought I would be happy. But maybe that was a mistake. Perhaps Tim had been so kind originally just to make me obedient, and thinking that makes it hard to trust people anymore. Anyway, I had become afraid of Tim and everyone else. I was dreaming. When I realized that, the dream suddenly shattered. It was as if I had been under a spell. Then, I began to think only about divorce. If my husband was really having an affair, I would consider it a stroke of luck. I thought I could divorce him quickly if I found some evidence. I hadn't recovered my health, but I had to go to work. I actually wanted to go to work. There was no rest to be had at home. And without telling my husband, I quit the other jobs I had been juggling. My physical limits were one thing, but it felt ridiculous to keep earning money for Tim's sake. Once I focused solely on my job, my boss started praising me. "It seems you've finally settled down." Yes, I've cleared my mind. I apologize for my behavior until now. That's all right. You've worked hard. I'm going to assign you a task. You can decide whether to accept it or not, and I'll wait for your decision. Just let me know once you've made up your mind. Thank you very much. I really am fortunate to work for such a great company. I'm thankful. But when I return home from this blessed company, Tim continues to live the same unchanged life. If you're back, start cooking right away. Did you know? Mrs. Kirkland in the neighborhood says she starts cooking from the morning. Is that so?
What's with that attitude?
Because you're all talk. Just nagging and nagging endlessly. What are you saying? I'm just saying what I think. You're wrong if you think I'll stay silent forever. Always tumbling on the sofa, spending your days in a mess, satisfied with just taking money? Don't be ridiculous. Life isn't that sweet. You should be grateful I took you in, an orphan.
How long are you going to keep saying that? I was grateful at that time, yes. But on further thought, just because there's gratitude, doesn't mean your tyranny should be tolerated. I've pampered you too much. That was my mistake. But I've reached my limit.
Is that so? Then I don't need you anymore. You'll really have no family then. That's fine. If that's the kind of family you are, I don't need it. I've got the divorce papers. Can you sign them now? Of course. I have a mistress anyway. I don't need a woman who just brings in a fixed income. Is that so? Well, goodbye then. After saying that, I packed my bags and left the house. I submitted the divorce papers to the city office the next day. I had actually already signed a lease on an apartment, and I moved my belongings there. If Tim stops siphoning money from me, I can live quite comfortably on my own. I was excited. I still received many insulting messages from Tim. "You're heartless for someone I took in, an orphan. You're just a coward who ran away because you couldn't balance work and household chores." But I ignored them. I couldn't bother with him anymore. Then, I started gathering evidence of Tim's infidelity. Tim had mentioned the word mistress several times, so he might have really been cheating. If that's the case, it's convenient for me, and since I've given him money all this time, I need to get it back in the form of alimony. I hired a lawyer and a detective to investigate Tim. It turned out that Tim was indeed having an affair with a date club hostess. I went to the club myself to ask her how long their relationship had been going on. "Hello. I'm Tim's ex-wife." "Tim's? Really?" "Yes. We're divorced now, but it seems you were involved with him." "I didn't know he had a wife." "Well, that's what mistresses often say, isn't it? Don't think you can just get away with it by saying that."
"No. I really didn't know."
The woman's name was Marie. But she was more honest than I expected, quickly giving me her name, address, and the phone number. She was eager to cooperate fully. Apparently, Tim frequented a daytime dating club, and after several outings, they ended up in a romantic relationship. It seems Tim had borrowed money from Marie, the hostess. Moreover, he had told her, "My mother is sick and needs hospital fees. I want to give her advanced medical treatments, which are quite expensive. Even dipping into my savings, it's tough." His actions were like those of a con artist. Marie told me various things, including the fact that they never spent a night together. Maybe it's because he thought I might find out. There's a hefty tab at the hostess club. He was trying to get Marie to pay it all. The more I hear, the more of a scumbag he seems. I took Marie to the lawyer's office and submitted evidence of the affair. They said it was enough to claim damages. Furthermore, Marie decided to sue Tim for fraud. Tim, who received a registered letter from both of us, hurriedly contacted me.
What's going on? What is this?
Can't you even read? Everything you need to know is right there. Why do I have to pay such a large sum? I took care of you, the parentless you. Wasn't the cost of taking you in around $200,000? In that case, shouldn't you be paying me alimony instead? Are you really okay? You didn't even adopt me, just married me, right? So what's with the cost of taking me in? You didn't have money for the wedding, and your parents were drowning in debt from slot machine, horse racing, and gambling. That's why there was no money for the wedding, right? Ultimately, I paid for it. I've been supporting our recent lifestyle, so who's really in trouble after the divorce? It's you, isn't it? It's truly exasperating. You, huh? And how do you know about Marie? It was easy to find out once I started looking. You used my money on Marie, didn't you? You thought you wouldn't have to ask me for money by the time we got divorced, so you were hitting up Marie instead.
It's only natural to want to be with a younger, cuter, higher-earning girl like Marie rather than a low-income woman like you, right? But you got in the way. It's fine for you to be obsessed with me, but don't bother Marie.
That's my line. You committed fraudulent acts against Marie. That's why she's suing you. Huh? Is that so? What did you think? Marie thought we were engaged, so when she found out about you, she broke off the engagement. Are you living in a dream world? Remember when you begged for money, saying your mother was hospitalized? You even asked for $100,000. Your mother isn't even that sick. She's perfectly fine, chatting up the staff at the bakery as usual. And yet, you pulled off such a scam, which is why you got sued. Marie has absolutely no intention of marrying you.
That's impossible. She was crazy about me the whole time.
That's probably because she didn't know we were married, right? She told me. She wasn't from a privileged family like yours, so she was drawn to scumbags like you, just like me. You took advantage of her situation, didn't you? That's not true. Well, I don't care, just make sure you pay Marie and me our alimony, okay? Of course I can't, can I? All I do is play games. You don't have to talk so big, do you? You should work and pay back the money. It's your duty. It was wrong of me to take a smartass like you as a wife. Well, it doesn't matter. Just remember one thing. What's that? Our mother and father owe me a lot of money. They can't borrow from banks or consumer finance companies anymore, so they came to me for help. Your parents always said to me, since we're taking in you, who has no parents, I was fooled by those words and gave them money, but I realize now I was stupid. I sent a registered letter to them to get that debt back. They'll probably turn to you for help next, right? I don't think you'll be able to get away without working anymore. What's up with that? Why didn't you tell me something so important? Well, I've been able to put up with it until now. But you've been having affairs and continuing with your arrogant attitude without working. Even I have my limits.
Don't mess with me. You're making a fool out of me.
Who's the one making a fool out of who? Always going on about not having parents. Well, some people with parents still turn out wrong, so having parents isn't everything, you know?
What's with that attitude? Don't mess with me.
Is it over now? I can't deal with you anymore. Pay the damages. Don't rely on Marie either. That's the only promise I'm asking for. Goodbye. After ending the call, I quickly contacted Marie, letting her know that there might be contact coming her way. And a few days later, it seems that contact actually reached Marie. Hey. Listen to this, Michelle. Guess what message I got from Tim? He said, I'm willing to marry you. Can we? Like, why the high and mighty attitude? Apparently, he wants to get married to stop the damages claim. I talked to him about your damages claim, but he really doesn't have any money. I'm kind of disappointed. After all, I'm a hostess, you know? I can't feel valued without someone with money. But you were really in love with Tim, weren't you? Are you okay? Of course. Anyone who cheats with a wife around is scum. Besides, there are many women out there who have affairs thinking they won't get caught by the wife. But I really can't forgive that. You're really straightforward. Sometimes it's not easy to live like that, so don't lose heart no matter what happens. Keep moving forward in your own way. Thank you. It's comforting to hear that from someone 12 years older. Well, to you, I'm just an old lady. We laughed and joked around. Honestly, when I got the message from Tim, I thought I might be pretty crushed because I liked him quite a bit, but she turned out to be a surprisingly strong and wonderful woman. Honestly, Tim doesn't have the great looks that make you fall in love anymore. He spends the whole day lazing around. His skin is rough from neglect. And he's broke. He even had to borrow money from Marie. Yet, falling in love with him again is probably just another one of his brainwashing tactics. Both Marie and I are better off without him. I truly believe that from the bottom of my heart. And then, after that, Tim apparently showed up at my company. But I'm no longer there. What my boss had told me at that time was about a transfer overseas. I agreed to go overseas, now that I'm divorced from Tim, and start fresh. And just as I was going abroad, Tim showed up at my company. As expected, the police were called and he was taken away. He was released on bail the same day. Hey, Michelle. Where are you right now? Me? I'm in Malaysia, why? Malaysia? Why are you there? I've been transferred overseas for work. I figured you might try to contact me or show up at the company, so I moved to Malaysia. I wanted to live a life completely unrelated to you. The people here are very kind. There's not a single jerk here who would say, I'll be with you even though you don't have parents. I was just telling you the truth, wasn't I? Be grateful. Anyway, I'm asking for a reduction in the damages. I can't pay. That girl Marie blocked me and quit hostessing. I can't even talk to her if I wanted to. That's unfortunate. But you didn't just want to talk, did you? You wanted to be taken care of, didn't you? You approached me with kindness like me, but then treated me casually and hurt me as soon as you got what you wanted. I pray that there won't be another victim like me. You should just get a job in the first place. If I could, I'd already have a job, wouldn't I? Take responsibility for spoiling me. He said that, but I just ignored him. I ended the call and blocked his number. Then I decided to consolidate all the damages I had received from Tim so far, which had been varying monthly, and request them all at once through my lawyer. Of course, Tim couldn't afford to pay, and he was caught with another hostess, doing similar things to what he did with Marie, and was arrested for fraud. That news reached Malaysia, so it must have been quite shocking in Japan. Tim and his parents fell together. As a result, they ended up with a criminal record and some debts. What they do from now on is none of my concern, but it's certain they won't find happiness. Freed from the brainwashing I'd been under, I plan to thoroughly enjoy my life in Malaysia.